Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary Beth?
Councilwoman Chapman.
Here.
Councilman Cookingham.
Here.
Councilman Deegan.
Here.
Councilman Reifenberg.
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht.
Here.
Town Attorney Warren Laplansky.
Here. Sorry.
All present.
You want to do the adoption of the agenda?
Yes, so it normally is just kept on from meeting to meeting, but somehow I got taken off this meeting. I just want to make a motion to amend the agenda by adding 13C, just a new town hall update that we do under old business discussion.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor? Oh,
We
no,
need a
we need a
second.
second. I'm sorry. Did you s-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I'll make a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, guys.
Okay, tonight we have a public hearing. I am in receipt of the affidavit of posting pertaining to a local law amending the town code of the town of Pleasant Valley by enacting a new chapter 72 entitled Residential Rentals by the town clerk, Mary Beth Muir, on March 26, 2025, and the affidavit of publication by the Northern Dutchess News dated April 2nd, 2025, April 9th, 2025, and April 16th, 2025. Okay, I'd like a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And do you mind just explaining what
Sure.
the public hearing's for?
Yeah. Me or you? I don't have it written in front of me.
So the public hearing, if you want to get up and speak about the proposed local law, which is
Oh, here it is.
basically good cause eviction is what it's, right?
Yes,
Is that what it's called?
yes.
Just to let everybody know, though, there will be another public hearing because there was an issue with the advertising of it in the newspapers. So you're free to get up and just state your name and address, and you can speak on the new law.
Just to add to that, the clarification, it was smart to do it. It was just to make sure people understood what was being added. So I think there was just an added note to the title of it, right? To just say, we're adding good cause eviction. That was the whole point.
Yes, it's going to say residential rentals, good cause eviction, correct,
Yeah.
Mary Beth? Okay.
Cool.
And that will be on May 19th? May 19th, it'll be open again. If anybody'd like to get up and speak, you're more than welcome. When you get up to speak, you can all stand on line, please, and then please state, excuse me, your name and your address. Go ahead. Oh, you just push, thank you.
Hi, my name's Caleb Croft. I grew up at 171 O'Halloran Circle, Pleasant Valley. I currently live in the city of Poughkeepsie, but my friends and family still live here, so I came here to speak out for people who are working, can't make it today. I have a petition here in support of good cause eviction. It reads, "Dear council member, your constituents are facing nothing short of a housing crisis. Skyrocketing rents, the constant threat of eviction, and unsafe living conditions are putting thousands of Pleasant Valley residents at risk. According to the Census Bureau, nearly 1/3 of Pleasant Valley households are renters. The first step we must take towards addressing this crisis is passing good cause eviction. Good cause would protect tenants from eviction if they're paying their rent and following their lease. They would be protected from eviction without cause and from rent increases above 10% or the consumer price index plus 5%, whichever is lower. If a landlord tries to raise rent by an illegal amount, then the tenant would be able to go to court and ask the judge to reverse the rent increase. Cities of Poughkeepsie, Albany, Beacon, Ithaca, Kingston, Hudson, Newburgh, and Rochester have already passed good cause. So is the town of Fishkill and the village of New Paltz Nyack, Croton-on-Hudson, and Catskill. The town of Pleasant Valley should be next. Please introduce and pass good cause eviction as soon as possible. This was signed by 24 Pleasant Valley residents. You know, on a personal note, I support this because, you know, these are people's homes, and I know people in Pleasant Valley who are struggling every month to pay their rent, and, you know, working 2 jobs. Everyone, you know, 3 people in a household, everyone's working jobs, someone working 2 jobs, just barely paying the rent, but able to make it every month. But what they're worried about is, you know, next year if they get a rent increase, what are they gonna do? You know, because, you know, people's rents goes up hundreds of dollars every year sometimes, and you know, our wages are not keeping up with that. I spoke with some people, some tenants in the town of Pleasant Valley, who said they had a rent increase of $350 from one year to the next, from last year to this year. Someone else told me they had a $300 rent increase from 2023 to 2024, then another $150 from 2024 to 2025. A lot of these folks are on Social Security. You know, the income that they bring in is not increasing every year. But, you know, so we need to have a common sense limit on how much landlords can raise rent, because, you know, they can make their profits, but people also need to be able to live. Pleasant Valley needs to be a place where the families who grew up here can continue to live. And also, you know, a lot of some of the other things besides having a limit on rent increase, but some of the other things from this law, like a guarantee to a lease renewal, I think that's common sense. I mean, you're talking about people's homes, as long as they're paying their rent, and they're following their lease, I believe they should be able to continue living there as long as they're a good tenant. You know, I don't think someone should be evicted from where they live simply because their lease is up if they've been living in a place 10, 20 years, being a good tenant, paying their rent, simply because someone from the city might be coming up here and could maybe pay a little more. I don't think that's right. I think we need to prioritize the people of Pleasant Valley who've lived here for so long. Thank you.
Gary Veter, Salt Point Turnpike. This law, if enacted as proposed, is virtually impossible to enforce under the present conditions. You have a part-time zoning administrator that has a hard time keeping up with the normal laws that are on the books now. And this law actually goes into effect more in the evenings than later in the day, etc. So I think that we should consider how we're going to enforce it at the same time. Thank you.
It would be a defense to it.
Hi there. My name is Ben Surface. I'm the supervising attorney for the Hudson Valley Justice Center. I don't personally live in Pleasant Valley, but I represent tenants in housing court here, just in that room back there. So I've been going to these meetings across the Hudson Valley. I was in the town of Poughkeepsie when they passed it. I've been in Middletown. And I find what's often most useful is to talk a bit about some of the misconceptions that either in good faith misunderstandings or cynical manipulations, people try and present this law as if it's one, rent control, two, as if it's going to mean landlords can never afford to maintain their properties, and three, as if they're going to be stuck with tenants for life and they can never sell their buildings and they can never get out of the business. So all three of those circumstances are misrepresentations of what the law does. What the law does say is that there is a reasonableness threshold for rent increases, right? It's not a cap. It doesn't say that any rent increase above that threshold is illegal. What it says is above that threshold, it's presumptively unreasonable, but if a landlord can demonstrate that they have real increases in their costs, then a judge is required to evaluate those costs, and if they are in fact reasonable costs, those costs can be passed on to the tenant in the form of rent increase. So where that threshold is, right, it's either 5% plus CPI, which for Dutchess County right now is about 8.5%, or 10%, whichever is higher in a given year. So above that threshold, the landlords can still raise, they can say, look, I put in a new boiler, I gotta raise the rent 15% to recoup those costs. If they actually put in that boiler, the tenant is fully within their rights to say, I know, you upgraded the heat, the place is great, I'll pay that 15%. If the tenant thinks, I don't actually know if you did that work, and I don't think I should have to pay for it, or maybe you put in a new boiler because you let the old heating system degrade to the point where it wasn't functional, and that shouldn't be a cost on me. That conversation now, which prior to this law could not happen, right? There was no mechanism for tenants to get that conversation mediated in the courts, now can happen with the courts involved. So it doesn't require the landlord to go to court for that rent increase, but it gives the tenant some say to say that that rent increase was unreasonable, and the determining point where that rent increase is going to be analyzed for whether it was reasonable is going to be in a court where both sides have the opportunity to be heard. So that's what the rent increase is about in good cause. It's not rent control, it's not a cap. It's something that's intended to get landlords and tenants into a conversation where both have some power. So when it comes to lifelong tenancies, landlords will say, under this law, I'll never be able to get rid of a tenant. I'm going to be stuck with them for life. What if I want to sell the property? The law includes exceptions for this, right? If a landlord wants to sell a property, wants to sell it vacant because the realtor is saying they can get more for it, they can still do it. The law says you can remove property from the rental market, and then you can evict everybody who's living there. Obviously, we don't want people to do that, but what the law basically says is you can't tell a tenant, I don't want to rent to you, but you can say, I don't want to rent this to anybody. And if you do that in anticipation of selling, there's nothing in the law that prevents that. So landlords are still perfectly within their rights. If they're done being a landlord, they want to sell to recoup their investment, they can still do that. So, those are some of the misconceptions we hear a lot, and I just want to come to the board and sort of head them off a little bit, because if you start to hear them, I like to think they're not in bad faith, that maybe it's misunderstandings of the law, but sometimes it's cynical people from the real estate lobby who want to try and convince you that this law is something it isn't. It's a very light touch. All it says is if you're paying your rent and you've been abiding by the lease, you're entitled to a renewal, unless the landlord has one of the many exceptions. So I think, I hope that the town will consider it, and I'll be back in May to talk about it again.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Naomi Dan. I'm the Chief of Staff at Housing Justice for All, which is a statewide coalition organization. We have local organizations, tenant and community groups all around the state that were part of the fight to pass good cause at the state level last year. Exactly 1 year ago, we actually celebrated the anniversary yesterday. And since the law passed, there's been 15 municipalities all around the state that have voted to adopt these protections. We were just hearing from Ben. We've seen each other at a lot of these meetings in the area over the last couple months as towns have started to consider what could this mean for my community and how could it increase housing stability in my community. So 15 other municipalities have already adopted it. They all did so by making two really critical amendments that we want to emphasize also. to make sure that the law would act as intended, would cover all tenants who should be eligible, and would be less confusing for people to be able to understand whether or not they had these protections. The way that they passed the law for the city of New York is quite confusing. My organization today actually released a digital tool where you have to answer a survey of 6 different questions and the tool will access public data to be able to figure out whether or not you have protections because of all of the complex exemptions that were built into the law for New York City. Upstate, we have much more flexibility, and you have the choice to be able to pass a strong version of the law that's really very simple. What it would do, as Ben was just saying, is to show that, often tenants have no power at all when their lease comes up for renewal. The landlord can say, yeah, don't like you, you're annoying, you ask for repairs too often, want you to go, and they'd lose their home. Or the landlord can say, I think that guy over there would pay me $500 more a month, I'm going to rent to him, not to you, you lose your home. What this law does is give tenants just a little bit more power in that conversation so that they can actually open up a negotiation and say, I've been a good tenant, I pay my rent on time, this $500 rent increase is really, really high, can you come down? I can pay a little bit of an increase, I understand that costs are going up, but I'd like to stay in my home, I've built community here, my kids go to school here, and this is where I live, and can I stay here if we can come to some mutually agreeable solution. And that's really what the law is all about. It's opening up that conversation. Obviously, there are some situations where it might come to something happening in court and would become one more tool that tenants would have to fight an unfair eviction. But our hope and what we've seen so far around the state is that really what it does is open up this opportunity to negotiate so that people can have housing stability.
Could you just state the town that you're from?
Yeah, sorry, I live in Kingston.
Kingston, okay.
Yeah, and I work at Housing Justice for All, which is a statewide coalition organization. We have members all around the state, including local groups like For the Many.
Okay, thank you. I saw some people come in that I don't know if you're here for the open hearing or not. That's what we're on right now, is for the residential rentals, which is also the good cause eviction. I didn't know if anybody else would like to speak. Not seeing any, should we close, we don't close it, right?
No, continue.
We just continue? So do I have to make a motion for it? Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing until May 19th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in receipt and acceptance of the minutes for workshop meeting for 2 public hearings on 4/7/25 and the special town board meeting of 4/14/25.
Make a motion to accept those?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence, all official correspondence is on file in the town clerk's office. Tonight, we have a presentation from the Duchess Land Conservancy, and sadly, I don't remember who was in charge of that. Was it you? Aaron, I'm sorry. Okay, and this is for farmland protection, and it's a farm on Salt Point Turnpike that's called the Cart Before the Horse. Oh, we have, yeah.
Can you see that okay? Looks good. Okay. Thanks so much for having us here tonight. I'm Erin Hoagland. I'm the Director of Conservation with the Duchess Land Conservancy. The DLC is making applications to the New York State Department of Ag and Markets to fund the purchase of development rights to protect a property owned by Kieran and Gabby Conway, who are here with us tonight, known as Cart Before the Horse Farm, as you mentioned, located on Salt Point Turnpike. And one of the application requirements is for the land trust to obtain a letter of endorsement for our application from the municipality. You may remember we were here back in 2023 for the Han Farm, so thank you for your support at that time. I'll tell you a little bit about the property, but I just wanted to mention conflicts of interest. The state requires that we address this and respectfully request anyone with a conflict actually physically leave the room. I don't know if anyone is a neighbor of the property or has a relationship with the landowners otherwise. If not, then great. And just as a note, I did draft the letter and provide that in advance. You're welcome to make edits to that. We just draft it to save you time and effort, so thanks for that. Starting with this context map here, the property is outlined in blue, and the subject of our application is 122.7 acres, comprised of 2 tax parcels, right along Salt Point Turnpike. It's just south of kind of a core area of protected land. Everything in blue is under easement with the Dutchess Land Conservancy, and many of those are working farms that use this same funding source to perpetually protect the land with an easement. As I mentioned, the Conways own the property. They've been farming here since 2022, bringing the land back into agricultural use after a period of it lying fallow. They produce 80 round bales and 3,000 square bales of hay per year, selling to other local farmers, including horse, livestock, and dairy operators. They have also planted out 1,500 nut trees, which they're managing and expect to produce nuts for harvest in the next 3 years. And the anticipation is that those will produce approximately 45,000 pounds of nuts once fruiting. And the Conways farm organically and are committed to the continued agricultural use and their contribution to the larger farming community, and have chosen to explore a conservation easement with the DLC to solidify the land's farming future. I'll just flip here. In terms of natural resources, just have a zoom in of the property. It's probably a little hard to see, but up at the northeast corner of the land there are both federal and state wetlands, as well as 100-year floodplain and a segment of the Great Spring Creek. It also partially overlies aquifer recharge area, classified as Zone 1, which are most vulnerable to contamination due to the rapid rate of percolation of the water into the groundwater. It also contains important agricultural soils, including both prime and statewide important farm soils, shown on this map. The prime are brown and statewide important are in yellow. So those are just mapped by the USDA and known to be most suitable for different types of farming, both production of crops as well as for ag uses like pasture. Also, if you know the property, you'll know it's highly visible. There's a 125-foot rise in elevation from the road frontage up to the top of the hill at the western edge of the property, and it just has a really beautiful, sweeping, bucolic view as you drive along Salt Point Turnpike there. In terms of protection, meeting open space goals of the town, the comprehensive plan identifies saving working landscapes as a goal and cites using the purchase of development rights as a tool to retain and protect farmland and farm operations. The comp plan also states that agriculture deserves community support as a viable economic resource, and environmental enhancement, and a tourism booster. Protecting the farm will help to achieve rural character, protection of the town, protection of those natural resources that I mentioned, including habitat, water, the soils, steep slopes. It will also help to protect and maintain scenic resources. The comp plan also identified Salt Point Turnpike as a proposed scenic road on the Public Trails and Scenic Roads map, and the town's open space plan identifies it as being located in a priority conservation area, that being the Gretna Road, Salt Point area, which is important for conservation goals, including the preservation of working farms, wetland systems, and again, rural character. That's kind of our thing. I don't know if there are any questions. I really, again, appreciate the time and your support if you're willing to sign the letter. Just a note, you can provide the letter to the DLC directly. It's addressed to the program manager at Ag and Markets, but we essentially upload it with our application. Any questions? Okay. Great.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the easel.
This time, I'd like a motion to open up the public comment portion of the meeting. Agenda items only, 3 minutes per person, one time only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody would like to speak?
Gary Veeder, Salt Point Turnpike. Farm's directly across from my house. I make it a habit of going over and bother my neighbors when I first meet them. And I gotta tell you that the two of the nicest couple doing great things over at the farm reminds me of when we moved in 50 years, 60 years ago. It was a cattle dairy farm, and it was a joy to see the animals and everything. And now we have different animals, but they're there. That has that's just a background. What I would like to say is every survey that I can remember that was done in town, the people wanted a rural setting. We are a county within the close population, large population area that has significant farmland being used, particularly on Salt Point Turnpike and Gretna Road. I see this proposal, and I'm really not familiar what the whole thing is, but I know what it does, and you can't vote yes fast enough. Thank you.
Gabi Conway, Rhinebeck. I just wanted to say it's terrible to hear I know what a housing crisis we're in. We do have 5 residential rentals there, which will continue forever. And I hate that we have to decide between providing food and housing. But we're trying to balance it. So that's all. That's my point.
Not seeing anyone else, I'd like a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to new business. The Town of Pleasant Valley Town Board proclamation for the 56th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 4th to May 10th of 2025. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Court, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens and the local governing bodies and agencies of the government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of the local government and community, and whereas the professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations, and whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, now, therefore, I, Mary Albrecht, Supervisor of the Town of Pleasant Valley, do hereby recognize the week of May 4th to May 10th, 2025, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Mary Beth Muir, her deputy municipal clerks, Kathy Miller and Deborah Dougal, for all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated today, April 21st, 2025. Okay, 12B, purchase of, we don't have to vote on that, right? Okay, that's all. purchase of new 2025 Chevy Silverado K2500 for highway. John Baxter?
How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, I have currently have a 2009 Ford pickup that is in dire need of replacement. Pretty much the whole instrument cluster on it does not work anymore. We've replaced it twice. It keeps blowing it. We can't find it. There's a short somewhere. The truck has other mechanical problems and issues, making it no longer viable for us to use. We use it as a plow truck for our smaller intersections. So I'm asking the town board for permission to purchase this 2025 Chevy Silverado. It's a WT, which is a work truck, so it's a base model. The regular price is a little over $53,000, but we get it off the government contract for $47,825. And the accessories that you see on the sheet, that includes the total price of the $57,000 includes the plow, the toolbox for the back, and a back rack, so to protect the back window when the guys are putting stuff in the back of the truck so we don't break it. So the total price of the truck is $57,682.50. It's available to us now and can be outfitted within about a month. So I would like the board's permission to go ahead and purchase this vehicle.
Did you do a budget modification for this?
I haven't done anything for this yet, no. But what I would like to do is take the money for this out of my my highway fund balance, not the equipment side, but the fund balance, because we have the money available, and $57,682.
Yeah, we typically do this with a resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I'm just asking that we can go,
Okay.
that we go forward with it, because I have to let the dealer know, and he'll hang on to the truck for me. Otherwise, it could go south for the winter. I can.
Okay. All right, we'll prepare a resolution
Okay.
for the
and-
next meeting.
And why I'm here, just to kill two birds with one stone. I'd like the board's permission to put the other old vehicle as well as the old garbage truck, the other old pickup truck, and a sander, or sorry, not a sander, an old sweeper that we have, up to auction as well. I have a bunch of, and there's the old basketball stuff down here. The old poles and
Oh,
stuff that we never
yes.
used, that can go
Yeah.
up to auction.
They're not
so-
old, though, those are new,
Well, unused, I should say.
just in case anybody's looking for them, you can look
Yeah,
for
they're
them.
the big, huge curved ones,
Yeah.
for professional basketball,
Right.
but, we can put all that up to auction, so if you give me that permission, I can start the ball rolling on that. Usually takes a couple of weeks to a month to get everything together and out, so.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to allow you to
Thank
put
you.
all of that up for
Second.
auction.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Just send me the information on those.
On the truck? Yep,
Yeah.
no problem,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, we need an RFP for the fireworks for the town of Pleasant Valley. I'd like to make well, I don't think we have one. Make a motion on the floor to do an RFP for the fireworks for Pleasant Valley Day, which is going to be on September 20th of this year.
Are you making a motion, or are you asking for a motion?
Oh, sorry,
I'm just wondering, because
no, asking for a motion,
I,
sorry.
before,
I normally mess that up, yes.
so since it's just a discussion, I don't know what the board thinks, but I would rather wait until we get to the resolution.
Oh, okay.
Passing that,
That's
if
fine.
the town's actually gonna take it on and
That's
set a
fine,
date,
okay,
before we release an RFP.
yep,
that
that's
fine?
fine, yep,
It just makes sense for that to happen after the resolution.
okay. Okay, the problem is I don't have this stuff, I don't have this. I don't know where it is. Accepting sponsorships as a town. I don't know where. Did you have it? Do you have something for this, Mary Beth? You don't have it either? Okay. Well, the bottom line is we would like to start accepting sponsorships for the town, which would mean like for Pleasant Valley Day, we would put out a thing where people could sponsor certain parts of the Pleasant Valley Day. So we would like to start doing this year, but I don't know why this stuff wasn't attached to this. So I apologize. I don't know where it is.
If you want to, for next meeting, put it back on again, but
Yeah,
I'll
I
just,
think we'll do it then.
if I could just add some to that. So a lot of towns around us, the town can't actively go out and solicit donations, but the town can put together sponsorship packages to sell. And if you look at all the towns around us, we're like the only ones that don't do it. So I think that's what the supervisor's
Right.
gonna talk about, and maybe at the next meeting you can bring some examples, and we can go from there, but
Yeah, I
more in the
apologize
future.
for that. I don't know where everything went. Yeah, so we'll put it on for May 5th. Okay, 12E, pickleball court at Helen Aldrich Park.
Good evening. After reaching out to a few companies, we actually realized that it's going to be over $35,000, so I spoke to Emily today, and we're going to move forward with the formal bidding process. It's something that I haven't done before, so she's going to walk me through it, and essentially she let me know to reach out to Doug, the engineer, to get that going, with your permission. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, or I have to get formal permission. I honestly don't know how to go about it.
so the sorry, I'm just thinking this through because
That's
it's different than what we were talking about. So I might have the conversations mixed up with Camp New Teaming, but if I remember
Yes.
correctly, the plan originally was we were going to put out RFPs and kind of get an idea of where we were budget-wise for something like this.
So we have we were going to, well, I was going to ask permission to use the Recreation Reserve account,
Okay,
which we would
that's
have
what
to
it
put
was.
it out for permissive referendum, yeah.
Okay, so you wouldn't have to put it out or would you?
Yes.
Okay.
For the reserve account, correct, not the trust account.
Well, no, to use the money in that account, it has to go out for a permissive referendum. But, so
I
the
just
plan,
don't think the trust account has enough for that unless we wanted to add, yeah, it doesn't, has 40-something thousand in it. And then the reserve account has a little over 300, so.
okay, so the plan right now is to work on a bid document, put that out, and then are we waiting for the bids to come back, and then we're just kind of, I'm sure Emily will do this, but with the bid document, I'd make it pretty clear that there's gonna be a delay in award and start of the contract, because I'm just thinking logistically, we're gonna get a dollar amount, and then if the board approves it, we're gonna have to have that 30-day or whatever period of waiting for the permissive referendum.
So once I work that out with Emily and Doug, basically, just let them know that we're going to be using the Recreation Reserve,
that not make
hopefully.
So the account that we want to use to fund this project, we have to remove the money from there and put it into the project. The problem is we don't really know, we have an idea, but we don't know exactly what the dollar amount's going to be. So she's asking the board for permission to work with Emily to put bid documents together, put the bid out, get the amount back, and then obviously we have to wait whatever period to move the money. Exactly. So that, I'm guessing, would have to be clear in the bid documents that there's gonna be some sort of delay, right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I can do that.
Do you need permission? I'll- You got you in the microphone. So, you need a microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, I spoke with Emily.
So
today,
you'll
and she said-
contact the engineer and they'll put
Yes.
together the
Yes, he
specifications?
said that he has the templates and everything, and to just reach out to him with all of the specs and dimensions.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to allow you to do whatever you need to do with MJ Engineering to get a bid document put together.
Are you sure this couldn't be piggybacked?
What do you mean?
Well, you might be, I mean, I've been involved in similar projects in other towns, and we avoided putting it out to bid by piggybacking on another contract using the piggyback law of the general municipal law.
I have no idea.
If you want to,
Well, either way, I'll make a motion to allow you to work with MJ Engineering.
yeah,
and
why don't you contact me,
Warren,
we can talk about that.
Okay, yeah, that
and you
sounds
guys
great.
can
Thank you,
figure
I
that out.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll second.
yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm trying to we did one in Rhinebeck, and
Yeah.
we piggybacked it, and so it might be less expensive if we go that route.
Understood. Okay.
So,
Very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
You might want to stay there. Continuing the camp no-teeping discussion. So did everybody look over the newest plan? I think you've had it for a little bit, enough to be able to look it over.
Is the one 821?
Yes, 821, yes.
So I had a couple questions. On the first page, I think it's just a typo, but on like the fifth bullet, it says 22,950, but above it says 19,125.
I don't know what document you're referring to. I haven't received anything in over about a week or so.
Oh,
So
you're
he's looking at the,
Oh, the document that I handed you.
Yeah.
last time. Okay, sorry about that.
I mean, the number the math adds up, but I just.
But it's the latest version.
Yeah.
Oh, the latest version, okay.
Yeah.
Let me get my phone.
Dan, what were you referring to?
It's on the first page. It says,
Yeah.
so, where it says equals 26,750. Is it, so I'm just not understanding where the 20, I wonder if this changed. Okay, I'm just confused on the 22,950 plus the 350 equals to it, all right,
Sorry,
maybe I'm just not understanding it. I wasn't worried about the math being wrong, I was just wondering how we got there, but I seem to be the only one, so, forget it.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just looking for it.
Do you see where he's talking
Yes,
about?
I'm just sorry, I'm opening it up on my phone. Okay, so you are in.
He's
on
looking at the
first
total
page.
revenue per session.
Okay. Yes, 22,950 plus the 3,050. So revenue per session for 95 campers, our own campers, that was 24,255, correct? Is that what you're looking at on the first page?
So,
Yeah,
so basically, the 19,125 plus the 7625 equals the
Yeah, so it's
26,750.
the registration
well,
fees.
22,950 plus 33,050 doesn't equal 26,750. It's off by 750, so maybe it's just a typo.
It might be a typo.
Okay.
There's
But
a
I
lot
didn't
of
know
math.
where 22,950 came from when above it's referencing 19,125. 19,125
So
plus
then that would
76.
be the early and aftercare added in as well.
Okay.
The session is the registration fees, and then the early care and the aftercare.
Okay, maybe there's just another line that doesn't, maybe we're just not seeing where it goes from 19,125 to 22,950. I think we should move on.
So,
Right.
we had the meeting last Monday. Where are we at? What's changed? What has?
The supervisor Albrecht has been.
Well,
talking
I,
to-
s- I, got to speak to the county. They are willing to open and close the pool, but they were not planning on anything else. So I don't know if that's a negotiable item or not, because the one person I spoke to wasn't sure. And
You mean as
so,
in maintaining and cleaning it throughout the
I'm
season?
sorry, pardon?
You mean maintaining and cleaning it throughout the season? Is
Right.
it- Yes, okay.
Right, but they're willing to open it and close it,
Okay, okay.
which is a pretty good expense also.
Oh, 100%.
And then you had told me that the person that would be the aquatics director would be able to do the other work. on
Yeah,
the-
so a DOH, we have to every morning test the water.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, so the aquatics director, one of the lifeguards will come in the morning, test the water, make sure it's safe, adjust the chemicals, and then we'll move forward every day.
Okay, all right, so we spoke about that. They told me that the MOU or contract, whichever they're going to do, would be able to be done in plenty of time if we made the decision to move forward
Okay.
with the whole program. They also agreed to coming in and doing what Susan had suggested, having them come and do orientation, and they agreed to that. I couldn't see you. So they agreed to you being able to bring everybody up to do orientation and whatnot. And then for cleanup afterwards. Now, the cleanup afterwards, the county is gonna put the Boys and Girls Club up there after, starting the week after. So hopefully, most of the stuff will be cleaned up
So if they're go-
before.
So Susan programmed them last year, so how is that going to work with them?
We're not part of any of that.
We're not programming them, they're not
We're
swimming,
not,
nothing?
we're not
Okay.
part of that at all.
Okay,
No. That's why they're doing it the week after,
okay.
to give the kids a couple of weeks to be able to to do that through the Boys and Girls Club. But the county is going to do
Okay.
all of that.
And we can still come and clean that week and everything?
Well, yes,
Okay.
but they, it has to be like, you have to stay out of the way of what's
Yes.
going on with
Okay.
them,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Because they're being really good about us, with the whole situation.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they came forth and stated that, the stuff that I talked to them about was fine.
Okay. Great.
And we can make a decision and, move forward as soon as I know we can do something with the MOU.
Okay.
Do-
Yeah, I think now, obviously, oh, sorry.
Did we, so who's maintaining the pool then? We are?
We would have to maintain the pool with testing every day.
Right, testing I don't mind, it's the chemicals and everything else.
Well, the aquatics director is supposed to be able to do that? They can.
Do you want to
Okay.
come up here, Susan?
Yes, that's fine. And also, I'm going to ask a question for you, Mary. Do you know if they have the vacuum for the pool? Because that's another maintenance issue.
Didn't even,
Okay.
I didn't even
I'm
remotely
assuming
ask her about
it comes
that.
with the pool, like it did in previous years. So
Okay.
that would be
Okay.
another aspect that we would have to deal with in the morning also.
Right.
There's a few things that we have to make sure that they are providing for us that they provided last year. There's the life jackets. They provided, and all of the boats they provided as well. So we just want to ensure that those are
Yeah,
still
I'm
there.
gonna have to check on that because
Yeah.
you wrote me a note about that, but that was not something that I had before I spoke to
No,
her.
that's okay. We actually spoke
I'm a
recently.
little concerned
Yeah.
about that because
that was
from
all
what I
about-
understand, there were some things that were auctioned and stuff or
Yes,
whatever.
There were,
And not by the county.
Yes, not by the county. yeah.
So I'm a little concerned about
I have
that.
had some people come and already they've heard about the meetings and want to donate boats and stuff like that, so we do have some people that are interested in helping. But obviously, now Susan and I, we have about 2.5 months until camp starts, so we are in the middle of trying to purchase what we need, and it's kind of hard not, following the budget, not knowing where we're going to be at, so I think essentially that's just where we're at right now. As soon as we sign an MOU or figure out what we're going to do, we can 100%
we
move
find-
forward, or it's standstill.
Did we find out about the insurance?
The insurance is one of the stumbling blocks right now. They were not able to get back to me by today. They called me at 4:30 and said they still hadn't heard. And I talked to them last week. So I don't know. They couldn't even give me an idea.
Right, that's why, and with the
Yeah,
swimming,
so
with
I'm
the
not,
pool,
I'm not
I
pulling
just
any
know
punches
it's a-
about it.
it's a
They did not
Pandora's
know.
box.
If it does help, I did speak to a few other rec directors because I wanted to reach out and see what they do, and they told me that the pricing was it's not a significant increase to add on to your current insurance for the swimming and everything like that. Obviously, we have to see what our insurance says, but I
Yeah.
wanted to reach out and just see if that's something
Yeah,
that
I
they
put a
knew
call
about.
into them
Yeah.
last week. And
So do we still know what the bottom line is, how many they want, and what it's gonna cost us? Just,
How many what, hon?
well, originally, they stated they wanted 50 kids for us to,
They're taking care of it. We are not taking care of the scholarship kids at all.
okay.
They're going to give us the names of 50 people for each
So
session.
at no cost
session.
for us.
Pardon?
We're not paying that cost
No,
of
no,
the
no.
50 kids.
We're paying for the kids.
But
We're
the-
not
right, they're ju-
paying for them to do all the work for interviewing and
Right,
getting
no,
all
I
the
understand
paperwork.
that.
Yeah, they're gonna give us
We
the
still,
names.
but the town's still paying for the 50 is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's what, I just wanna know
Yes.
what that number is, the 50 kids, and then where we're deficit. So I guess, I don't care about the town kids in the way. I want them to be able to go to it. All the town of Pleasant Valley kids, I want them to be there,
It's
and even the others.
$12,750 per session for 50
Per
kids.
session,
So it's
for the,
$38,250 for the 6 weeks of scholarships.
so what, you just said 12,000, so 12 times 3 is 36, so 36.
38,250, yes. So essentially, if they're, Mary, is it going to be 8 weeks that we are renting from them, or 12 weeks? Is it June through August, or?
We're gonna do it, we're paying for
Just
those kids just for those 3 sessions.
The 6
Yes, but
weeks.
we are allowed to be there in June, correct? So essentially,
Yes.
okay. So if we
Yes.
say even it's a 10 weeks, we're essentially paying them $3,825 in rent a week.
Right, that's our rent per se.
And that was versus the big number that we had
Yes.
Yes,
a
that's
month ago, which
versus
was like,
that
what,
Yes.
180 grand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It kind of ends up being just a wash, right? Is
One other
essentially
flag
what
here,
it
that
is.
some of these 50 could be Pleasant Valley kids, right?
Oh,
Well,
yes.
Yeah,
that's what
I have
want.
no idea.
Well, that's
We're
what
not
daughter
gonna
was
know
one of them
that.
last year. My daughter had Susan. My daughter applied. I applied through the county.
So is
Pleasant
there,
Valley
is
kid.
there a way to have Pleasant Valley kids get first dibs?
I doubt it.
Right.
I'm not gonna say yes to that, because they said that they would do the
work of it.
interviewing and the work and get us 50 kids for each session.
Gotcha, but we can at least make sure that Pleasant Valley kids that are of need are on the list to get considered.
Well, they go by their own,
But it's income-based
Structure
and
of-
it's all
it's
those
all
things, right?
income-based,
So, like,
So
yes.
essentially, when the county
Yes.
gives us their information for the scholarships, I'll send it out to our Pleasant Valley kids
right.
in order to
Yeah.
apply. Yeah, and that way they know that they can do that.
So I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but
go ahead.
so what I've heard is that the county can't give us an answer on the insurance. It's been a week. We don't have an MOU. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I mean, if the county doesn't have something to us by Friday, I think we really need to make a decision that we're doing Camp Sunny Days at Helen Aldrich Park. And I think the conversation with the county needs to be, if you want to be using this park and you want us to do this, then they need to put some pep in their step and get us
Well,
what.
they told me on the phone that they could probably get everything done for us by the 30th.
Well, that's
of
not,
April.
that's not gonna work. If it's the 30th, that's a Wednesday, and we're gonna have a town board meeting on the 5th, which realistically, we're not gonna tell them that they actually have a camp until the night of the 5th of May. It just doesn't seem realistic. I know I really want camp there, but we don't have information on insurance. That should be you should have made a phone call and they should have called you back 30 minutes later telling you what the insurance is. I mean,
They told me that it's not an overnight event to figure that out for them, for swimming and
So
the
when did you
pond
talk to
and
them?
everything. Last Wednesday.
okay, so I don't want to I don't want to be that person, but at some point we need to make a decision if we're doing this or not.
Yeah.
And at some point we need to be in agreement that if we don't have something from them, then we have to move forward with it at Helen Aldrich, because we can't just, I honestly thought we'd have a lot more in a week from last Monday. Like, we have nothing. It's been a week and we have nothing. We heard that the county is
Well-
okay with a plan that they already proposed. So I'm not saying that the town's not doing what we're supposed to be doing, but we've gone a week. And this is the concern I had 2 weeks ago, was that things move very slow in government. So I just don't want us to try to do something and then try to rush it and it not to be the best thing for the kids.
Well, if
think we
all
just need
these,
to set-
if
sorry,
all
sorry.
this stuff gets answered this week, can't we have a special meeting quickly at the last week in April?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying we need to have information by like Friday.
Yeah.
So the town board has it over the weekend and we
Yeah.
have like a special board meeting next Monday or something.
Yeah.
But we can't give them till the middle of next week.
Well, you're gonna need time to review the MOU.
Yeah, like
by Friday.
the
Right,
attorneys
yeah,
need to
right.
look it over, like, yeah.
You need to look at it,
Or Emily's gonna be going away next week. but
Okay,
get it.
yes. Get it to you, okay.
We also, we talked about the budget. I see on here we have, I thank you for updating this, a deficit of almost 30,000. And I see you're planning on moving some
Yes,
money.
Yes.
Um,
I was hoping that we would be able to kind of help with that deficit with the Boys and Girls Club. I understand that they're going to come afterwards, but I
Yeah.
did think that would be very helpful, programming them in because we were assured a certain amount of funds from them,
Yeah,
from that organization.
no, I know.
As far as covering that deficit without that group, we probably won't unless we get an insane amount of registrations. I can't promise you guys anything because this is the first year that we're doing this, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Do we have a budget modification ready to move money from the fund balance into the camp budget that we talked about last week?
No, well, no, absolutely not. I wasn't gonna do anything with budget modification till we knew what we were doing.
I did put some feelers out there for our entertainment to let them know that we might be canceling some things to try to save some money, so we did. I met with Susan the other day, and we did email a few of our entertainment, so there is a few $1,000s we can save with that as well, to try to cover that deficit. Just trying to ensure that we're not spending money wastefully when we have a 300-acre piece of land, you know?
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
but I agree with you, Michael. There needs to be, I think we've talked about it for a few sessions or a few board meetings now, and we have to just solidify something because we are at a standstill for camp. We can't do anything. We can't plan. And we have to submit paperwork by the middle of May, all of our DOH stuff.
Another thing, I'm just looking at the field trips and that, it states for the additional revenue for the scholarship registration, so that would be the 6,200, that would be on the town again. So that-
No. No, so Mary and I
No.
spoke, and we wouldn't pay for the kids who receive scholarships to also take the trip, but we would open camp. Normally, we don't open camp when we have a trip, but we wouldn't want to do that if they choose not to go. So they can decide if they want to go on the trip, their parents can pay for it, and if not, they can still come to camp, and we'll leave some staff behind for children who decide not to go on the trip.
You took Teresa Lucarini out of the picture here with,
Yes.
why?
She hasn't worked for us since the winter. We just don't have space for indoor pickleball, not with basketball and everything. I couldn't give up 2 hours of space at LMS for pickleball. Honestly, we really need it for basketball. And there were so many issues last year with the schools. As you know, Mary, they get first dibs in their gyms, so we would have pickleball players come or basketball players come, and they would have other events.
But
going
would
on.
she be doing pickleball on the new pickleball courts outside or
No, I don't
somewhere
think,
else?
As of right now, I don't have plans for this year to have pickleball classes. I just wanted to actually
Why
get the
we putting
pickleball
pickleball in?
scheduler going.
You know,
I mean, I agree. I think we have to decide, are we gonna do it or are we not? And then we just have to do it.
I think we already decided that we wanted to pursue this at last Monday.
Yeah.
And I thought the idea was that we were gonna have a budget modification, ready for the board at this meeting. I see the next discussion is to advertise for lifeguards and aquatic director. The last meeting we had was that we don't have money for them and that we were gonna potentially move money into the budget. I just don't know.
There's one other issue with this that that was brought to my attention also, and that is the seasonal worker. that we had down for 400 hours for this summer for up there. The issue is that I really need that line actually put under the personal services for the groundskeeper.
Yeah, I'm off all week.
Because of,
I'm off all week till Saturday, and it's just, I'm aggravated that we're just wasting another week, and whatever needs to happen to make this happen, I'm around. But we can't do any of this. We don't, if the groundskeeper, you're talking about the groundskeeper being missing, then our
well, I have
deficit's
to,
even higher than that, so.
Yeah, I have to figure out what's gonna go on with that.
We need a
Because
budget.
of having 2 full-time people instead of 1 part-time and full-time.
The plan at last Monday was we were gonna have a budget for this meeting. And we were gonna look at that and move money if we needed to move it. I don't know, you guys really have to work on a plan this week and figure out how you're gonna make this work, because I personally don't see it happening unless we really, I don't wanna sound like that person, but
No, I'm ready and
being
committed,
honest
so-
with you.
Okay.
You know, we can. we
Like,
can
something needs
sit-
to happen here. We can't just keep having meetings.
Well, I'll
I
work,
agree. Yes. I would say,
Yeah.
honestly, coming from the rec department, and
Getting closer
Susan
to
as
the
well, if
time.
we don't have this figured out this week or next week, even I, as the rec director, you know, it kills me to say this, like, we can't go there. We have to,
right.
it has to get done.
Well, then I think we need to put our foot down
Right.
and say, end of story, we have no choice. We needed, Friday's our deadline.
Well,
I hate to say it.
Okay.
And-
Well, there's many moving parts to that too, right? Like, the county, they need to get this stuff, but we need to fund this. We have a
Right.
deficit. We have no budget modification to cover the deficit. We want to advertise for more positions. We don't have the money for it, so
Correct. It just keeps going up and up.
we need to put something before the board to fund this. I don't care if the county comes back next week with something. We don't have the money for this. So we need a budget modification, and you guys need to work on wherever
Yeah.
your guys' money's coming from and give us real numbers. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but we can't make a decision.
No.
I hate to be intimidating to them, but we kind of have to.
Yep,
I
I
think
know,
we kind of need to,
I know.
It's,
Quote,
I mean,
unquote,
I
like a
feel like
smackdown.
they're ready and willing. I think we have to sit down and we have to just get it done. As a town, we have to get it done.
It seems like there's unanimous support for new teaming. What do we lose by doing it next year versus this year?
I think the possibility of losing the park
Yeah.
completely. They might
Yeah.
sell it.
So
And
the
then we'll
goal
never
is
get it
to,
back.
yeah, the goal is to move this into
They're
using
gonna-
this annually, and
Right.
if we don't do that, then we're going to lose this fall there and the spring there if the board chooses to continue our relationship with them, and if they sell it, then obviously we don't get any say in what they do, so.
I think this was also a trial run for us to see
Yes.
how it worked and how well it went. And if it went well, I
Right.
think we were planning on expanding
Yes.
our usage with them if this went well. So this is really just a trial because we couldn't afford to do it all year. So this was more just a trial. If this went well,
But
Then
even
it
at the trial, we need to know where we're at money-wise.
100%.
right.
Trial or no trial, we're running out of runway.
Yeah.
I would like to bring, and I know, you know, Supervisor Albrecht, you had the conversation with the county, but bringing the Boys and Girls Club in during our camp season, I do think is very important for us to help cover this deficit. And for our kids to all be intertwined with other kids in the county, you know? If that's something that you do want to discuss. I know that you talked to them about it, but I do think it's something, and as Susan said, it was very beneficial to the kids that came from Poughkeepsie and and the Pathfinders kids as well. But it would
Yeah.
really, really, truly
Well,
help
that
with this
wasn't
deficit.
my suggestion.
Okay.
She said that's what they wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
Do you have
So-
anything scheduled tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.?
I do not.
Do you have anything?
Yeah.
What time?
Bonding company, 10 o'clock.
What about 9? 8 a.m.?
Yeah, doesn't matter,
8 a.m.?
doesn't matter.
Do you have 8 a.m.?
No, I'm kidding. That's fine.
All right,
That's
so
fine.
can we agree that we'll meet here at 8
Yes,
a.m.
8
tomorrow,
a.m. is
and
fine.
we're going to do something?
Yes.
We'll get
If you
this done?
want to.
We gotta,
There's only one place the money can come from, that's the
well,
problem.
we'll figure it out.
I also need
Yeah,
to ask
that's
permission to bring, I don't even know how or when we would do this, but there's going to be someone that's going to be running the cafeteria there that needs to see the cafeteria. So I don't know if that's something we would wait until after this is all done, but he's
Yeah.
doing the contracts now for summer camp, so.
What's the point of a meeting?
He's
if we're
never
still
been up
waiting
there
on
tomorrow?
The county.
No, there's a lot of stuff that
No,
we need to
have
do as a
yeah,
town.
As a town.
Sure,
Yeah.
but if they don't come back with an answer,
No, I think that they are pretty much like, that we can do this.
I-
We
I-
have to give them we have to figure out our budget, we have to do our budget modifications.
I think the
Yeah.
problem is if the county came back tomorrow with an MOU and gave it to us,
we're not ready.
We're not
we,
ready.
No.
we're,
We don't even know where we're at money-wise,
yeah,
No.
we're not ready for that.
budget-wise, so we could be in
Yeah.
100,000 down.
All right, 8 a.m. tomorrow?
8 a.m. tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. So we cannot advertise for lifeguards, yeah? Okay,
No.
gotcha.
Okay. Okay, resolutions.
Hold on,
Oh,
we added the
sorry.
discussion for the new town hall. Just give me
Oh,
one sec.
that's right.
Not much of an update since we've been having meetings every week, but, so, if you've driven by, you've probably noticed that, a lot of work has started on the front of the building. You see a lot more going on. They've been really heavy on the back side of the building, so a lot of people haven't really seen things on the outside, and also they've been inside a lot. So, big accomplishment this week is that's the elevator shaft. For the elevator, that's on the second floor there. The staircase will end up coming up and wrapping around and entering the second floor on the left there. That's it from the first floor looking up. So the staircase would be on the right, and then it would wrap around the backside to the second floor. The backside roof is completely done. I don't remember the exact count on the boards, but there's going to be a change order for the rate that we put in their contract for the plywood. The back, I talked about it at the last meeting, had a lot of penetrations to the roof, which caused water damage. So we replaced those. I did get an answer from the last meeting. You had asked, why didn't we just bid out to replace all of the wood on the roof? So back when this building was built, if you look at the wood that's actually on there now, it's like cabinet grade. So it's a really high, basically, I was told that if you want to buy that exact board right now, it's over $100. The quality that is being replaced with that they make now is like $40. It's not as good quality. So we're trying to save as much of the good boards that we could. You can kind of start seeing the new color of the shingles, and then that white trim is going to be all around with the brick. This is the one side, if you're looking at the building off to the right. There was a big grease trap. I can't really point it out, but where the hole in the ground is there, that was for the pizza place, so that's been removed. There used to be a shed up in the upper right-hand corner, that's gone, and that's going to end up being a staircase down the side of the building so folks can get from the second floor to the first floor parking lot during the winter or during rain and whatnot. And this is just an overview of the back. You can see they're about halfway done shingling the back of the roof. And one thing to point out, they covered the entire new roof with, I'm going to use the wrong word, snow and ice shield. Water shield. So the previous roof didn't have any of that on it. It just had 2 layers of shingles. So that's all I have. We're moving along. I will point out too that we've been doing, there have been things that have come up that would have been change orders. But what we've been doing is, if they're not significant, there's also things we found that we've allowed the contractors to get a break on, and we've been just swapping. That's why you haven't had a bunch of change orders or a bunch of credits. We do have some credits coming back for electrical stuff, and we have the change order coming in for the roof boards, and then we should have a credit coming in for some trenching that needed to be done. But we're reusing some of the stuff that's already in the ground. So anybody have any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
It's looking very good. Okay, on to the resolutions. I would like a motion for 4/16 of 2025, supporting Duchess Land Conservancy in their submission of farmland protection implementation grants, FPIG program, Round 20 application for financial assistance in purchasing development rights of the cart before the horse farm property.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like a motion for 417 of 2025, rescinding Town Board Resolution 126 regarding Pleasant Valley Weekend and establishing a Pleasant Valley Day as a Town of Pleasant Valley recreation event.
So moved. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain it?
Sure. You want to start? You can.
Oh, no, no, you.
Oh, okay. So what we would like to do is make Pleasant Valley Day a recreation event, which is the way it is in pretty much every town or all towns. That way, we would have everything in-house, and we would be able to go from there. We'll ask for people to be on a committee, which we will also do this evening. And then that way, the rec department would take over running Pleasant Valley Day in general.
Now, we're going to appoint the committee? Okay. I would also like to see maybe a town board member also besides the 5 committee members, and maybe maybe an employee of the town also, not just 5 committee members. Kind of like somebody like overseeing the committee.
Well, you would have the rec director.
Besides the
And,
rec director, like a town board member.
Okay. You all right with that?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
Okay.
really actually say who gets.
No. No.
I mean, it's at least 5 people, so, I mean, like the beautification committee that we're going to hopefully appoint tonight, in the resolution forming it, you can put a town
Right.
board, whatever you want on there, so this is, yeah, I don't see that being a problem. We just have to make sure it's in the resolution.
Well, it does say in here that the town board desires to create a citizens advisory group steering committee in carrying out this town event. So it's
Are-
already in the resolution tonight.
Are we going to advertise for
Yes.
people to? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to do that right after
Okay.
we do this tonight.
And I think, just to give some background on this, is I think one of the issues we're having is that there's kind of this weird gray area of the town would appoint a group of people, and then basically this cleans up a lot of the gray area that we had, with allowing what we were talking about with those packages that we could potentially still bring money in, and just making an official committee of the town, and they can function using town resources now, where they couldn't really do that prior, because it was kind of this weird separate entity. So that's the hope.
Do we lose anything by making the switch? Is there any downside? That sounded like an upside. Is there a downside?
I don't think so, because now we want to do the sponsorship thing where, that would make it a lot easier.
We raised money before. I'm just trying to understand why, what's the point of doing this? Like, we raised money before, is there?
Well, because the argument could be made that the way it was put together before
it's
shouldn't
not.
have been
Oh,
the way it should have been.
Yeah.
got it.
Okay. Maybe I'll just read this then, okay, because it has a lot of stuff in it.
You don't have to. We
don't think
have
so?
a motion in a second. We
Okay.
just have to vote on it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye?
Opposed? Okay, and then I would just ask permission, motion on the floor to advertise for us to appoint a minimum, no less than 5 people to be appointed to this committee.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I just get recognized for a sec?
Sure.
Just to come back around to this
Go ahead.
proposal for fireworks. just because it kind of was backwards. So I'll make a motion to allow the RFP to go out for the fireworks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on to Resolution 418 of 2025. I'd like a motion for revising the recreational use of facilities rules and ball field rental fees for the town of Pleasant Valley.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'd like a motion for 419 of 2025, appointment of the 2025 Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Assistant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I just have some questions.
Oh.
Is this person going to be doing all recreation?
This person is going to be doing seasonal capacity stuff
Okay.
for
And
basketball, I
and
believe.
Is it up to a certain amount of hours, or, because it only
I
just says
don't,
pay rate?
I don't think it's up to a certain amount of
'Cause it
hours,
says
right?
part-time.
It's just
so I think
part-time.
I would just like it specified in there,
Oh, it
up
doesn't
to
say
how
that
many
in here?
hours.
Oh, it says part-time, seasonal
Yeah,
capacity.
so up to 20 hours?
You want that added into it?
Well, we've
We already
already
voted.
voted on this.
Right.
That should have happened before we
Yeah.
voted.
Okay, on to 420 of 2025, appointment of 2025 Town of Pleasant Valley Summer Camp staff.
So moved.
I have a question too, but second.
Second?
I just have a question about
Sure.
the salaries. Why is there such a huge difference
In which,
in the
wh-
in the CITs to the counselors?
well, the counselor in training is $20 per day. The other ones are per hour.
Hour, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah, there's only two that are per day,
gotcha.
and
Okay.
the rest of them are all per hour, correct? There was, okay.
Okay, so this is based on Camp New Teaming, so I'll make a motion to table this resolution.
Yep,
Yeah,
I-
second, because it might change.
Right.
yes. You second?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I was wondering
Opposed?
why it was-
Authorizing, I'd like a motion for 421 of 2025, authorizing payment of abstract number 4P.2 of 2025.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like a motion for 422 of 2025, amending the 2025 general fund balance budget for planning escrow.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'd like a motion for 423 of 2025, authorizing payment of abstract 4 of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I would like a motion for 424 of 2025, increasing the Town of Pleasant Valley adult basketball referee rate for the 2025 season.
So moved.
Second.
And it's going from $45 to $55 per game. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll
And
make-
I'd-
I'll
pardon?
make a motion to allow Resolution 425 of 2025 on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like a motion for 425 of 2025, appointing members to the Beautification Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Just really quick, I'd like to point out a couple things. In the previous resolution that this talks about, we need to appoint a chairperson. So I figured we can hold off on that. And I also signed up Councilman Cookingham to be the designee from the committee. Because you sent me that email. You never got back to me, but I have it in writing. So,
I did see that, too.
so I'm guessing you can sit down with the 5 of them and figure out who you recommend for a chairperson.
All in favor? Oh, yeah, you did respond. He did, yes, he did respond.
The first one, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, I'd like to open up the meeting, motion to open it for the public comment. 3 minutes a person, any business.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody like to speak?
Harry Vader, South Point Turnpike. I'm really disappointed that we didn't have more information on costs of the new teaming. The one change I heard in the discussion that I picked up was that we gotta maintain the pool. I would suggest that you go to our local pool guys down here and ask them how much it's gonna cost, not for them to do it, but for, if we do it or they do it, get two prices. Because a large pool like that, I know I have an in-ground pool, it's a lot smaller than that. And chlorine is expensive, very expensive. They know how much you would use approximately and use that. That would give you a figure for that. And the other thing is, I'm not sure, but I think the health department is the one that checks on the pool. And I don't know if you have to have a certificate or a license for that. But those are two concerns I have in that area. Without the pool, it's not worth the expense to go to new teaming. If you can't find lifeguards and the price is too much, you're making all the improvements to Aldridge. You know, the only thing you're getting additional, nicer facilities, and you do have an indoor building, I think. But it is a lot to consider. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, not seeing, oh,
Terry Albrecht, O'Halloran Circle, Pleasant Valley. We have been on the committee for Pleasant Valley Weekend Day, whatever you want to call it, I've been on the committee for about 8 years. We are more than willing to work with the Pleasant Valley Rec Department. We love Nikki. But it sounds, this all was explained to us by Councilman Reifenberg and Mary Albrecht, supervisor, and what transpired in the resolution tonight was totally not what we had discussed. So it kind of changed to a totally different outcome of what we wanted, or what we had discussed about it, that there was no way that we could raise money. We do get sponsors. We don't get donations. We get sponsors. So just so we know, I know it's not it's a private thing and it's not part of the town, but every ride, everything was sponsored by a certain company. So the rest of the stuff, the donations really went to the bands and things like that as far as any money went. But we have kind of been waiting for an answer. Obviously, tonight was the answer, what went on. But we're a little disheartened as to, we've put in committee members twice to the town. And tonight, obviously, we're told that we might not get on the committee this time because you're going to open it up to others. But what if like the beautification committee, my letter didn't get in, so I was not appointed to that committee. So is that gonna happen to us, the ones that have been really working on Pleasant Valley Day for all these years? Is that gonna be something that might happen to us, that we're gonna be now tossed aside and not be able to be it? Because it's really our, you know, we love this town, and we love to run that committee, and we love to put on Pleasant Valley Day, and I think we did a really, really good job last year. So we're just a little disheartened as to what might the committee look like, and who's gonna be on it, and why wouldn't you just appoint the committee that has already been established, and instead of putting it out to other committee members? We have already put it out on Facebook, we've already asked people, and adding other people to the committee is great, but for us, we're like, we've been waiting and waiting since January, and now you're telling us that we have to wait more to see if we're even gonna be on the committee. So that's just my thing. It's a little disheartening to us. It's, as far as we know, we feel it's shenanigans, and that's really all I need to say. Thanks.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify some stuff. So, when we spoke, we did have a meeting. When we spoke, there was two options. One was given that the committee could do their own thing, but they would have to form some sort of entity like any other entity that the town does an MOU with, and they could do whatever they would want, and the town would have nothing to do with it. The other option is that we would form a committee that would work with recreation, and the other way would be a non-for-profit, and they could fundraise whatever they want. The other option was the one that we're going with now, and there's no limit on the committee members. Now that it's a town-ran thing, though, it would be kind of horrible for us to say it's going to be a town-ran thing and say we don't want anybody else to get involved. I'm supportive of whoever to be on it. It could be 30 people for all I care. I think it's more the merrier. But one of the issues that we had, and I wasn't going to go into this, but in the past, we had a town committee that collects money, and there's sponsorships, but we still don't know who gave the money and what they gave and what they gave it for, and that was part of that conversation, and that's why we need to go to a cleaner version of this. So there's no shenanigans going on. We want you guys to do this. We're trying to do it in a way that it cleans all of that gray stuff up of it was a town committee, but we don't know who gave money, we don't have those details, and you guys would agree that we don't have that detail. We know, well, we don't know who gave you money and how much they gave you. So, of who donated, we don't know who donated what and how much they donated, which we asked for, and we still haven't received it. So, there's no shenanigans. We're trying to clean this up and make it the proper way of doing it. Okay, so. We're supportive of you guys doing your thing. We just are trying to do it in a way that makes it clean for everybody, because the way it's kind of been this gray thing of what's been going on. That's all we're trying to do. What?
Forever, 200 years.
I understand. Just
I
because
know, but
it's been 200 years
it's
doesn't
not-
make it right.
It really hasn't been done.
Our meeting was definitely over.
No, it's okay.
Our meeting was over the sponsorships. When we first met, it was over the sponsorships that we couldn't do that. But now you're saying that we can.
We gave you the option to do your own thing, and you could collect money from whoever you want as a separate entity from the town.
But that's
that
not
was
what's
your
happening
option.
now. Now
No,
it's a different.
now it's
Correct.
going, and the other option was to come into the town, and we told you at the time we would investigate with the attorneys of the town to see if there was some way that the town could raise money, which is, we did that, and that's what's happening now.
Okay.
And you guys said you would rather it come in the town, and we would do it, and that's what we're doing. We had that conversation, and that's what we're doing. Nobody's trying to get rid of anybody. We're just doing what we talked about. And I know it's, like everything else in government, it's taking longer than anybody would want, but that's unfortunately how this all seems to work. So you have my support, you have the board's support, I'm sure. It's just, those were the two options.
If you can, you can put it right in, right away. put your, put your letter of interest in right away, which is the way we have to do it for all committees. We're not trying to do it differently for you, okay? We have to do that with everybody. Okay, not seeing any other comments, I'd like to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
One more.
Oh.
Elisa May, 45 Whiteford Drive. Elisa May, 45 Whiteford Drive. So I'm new and don't come to town meetings often, and also new to the politics, so I'm going to try to stay out of that part. I would like to say that I'm happy to hear about the beautification committee, because after we've lived here for the past few years, it's kind of frustrating to go into Acme and the dollar store and kind of see the stores. And actually we had some people walking by, Mary, and we had asked, that was one of my questions. I had said, hey, when can we clean up the Acme? And I'm sorry, I don't remember who you were with. She had said, oh, we've already tried that, it can't happen. So I don't know what that meant. That was kind of the answer that was given to me. So I'm glad to see that there's a town beautification committee. Regarding PV Day, I think that you guys have a lot of new people in the town. So I think that I think it's been great these past few years, but I think it would also be more open to all ages. I think it needs to meet the needs of the older people, the middle people, the teenagers, the younger. There's so much you can do. So hopefully the committee will reflect that.
Anyone else?
Can I be recognized?
Oh, sure.
So to maybe add, to lighten the room a little bit and add a little bit of humor. So the PV Day, part of the point of that basketball court is to do a tournament that day to bring kids in, which will dramatically change the energy of that event. That's one thing, that's why I'm pushing so hard for that. In terms of this change with the committee and all that, I don't know all of the details of it, but I can tell you that if what we don't have a wave of in this town is people raising their hand to help. So the last thing we're looking to do is eliminate people that have raised their hand to actually try. I guess the humor I'm trying to throw in is if you're worried about you guys being replaced by an army of people that are gonna show up and work, okay, show me where they are, because we've been trying to find those kind of people, right? It's the same group of people, credit to all of you that show up to every meeting. I do have to say, aside from when I asked for the Rettel volunteers, which it's coming, anybody who's watching, I did get a flood of volunteers, so I kind of say this with a grain of salt, but if you're worried about being replaced, I don't think that's the argument. And the more people, the merrier, to get all people reflected, young, middle, old. Yeah, I don't know what the conversations were and all that, but I thought PV Day was a good job last year. We're not looking to get in the way of, nobody's looking to get in the way of anybody. And we're looking to do exactly what you talked about. This town, there's a big upside here. If we all start working together and actually start caring a little bit more than has been cared about, and the potential is huge. So that's all.
I have just one thing there. I mean, not about the Camp Nutimi, but you see how much was tried to get done in a week. Is there a way, I mean, because I had off this week and I was down here a bunch, if there's a way that we can just have whatever, when I went over to the planning board and stuff, if somebody wants to do something, they have to have the stuff in 2 weeks prior so everybody on the board can look at it and that. Is there a way to make our deadline at least a week in advance, so then that way the people can actually see it, you know, and then people that want to come see it, and then also all of us. I know there's certain things that come up at whenever, like Camp Nutimi is, you know, we've been having meeting for, you know, Michael's going to meet tomorrow morning with, you know, stuff like that, but just the normal stuff, like at least have everything, because I saw how hard Tony's been working, and it's thing after thing, but like if there was a deadline where no matter who it was from what department, then at least it gives everybody a chance to look at things. Is there a way to put a hard deadline?
It's very difficult because we only have 2 weeks in between some of our meetings. And so to get everything done in 1 week, to get it completely put out again, is very, very difficult. Because after our meeting now, we have a bunch of stuff that we have to do plus the new stuff for the next meeting, it's very difficult to do that all in 1 week.
And just, talking to other towns, it seems like they are able to do it, so that's why I'm just wondering. You know,
Do you know what towns you're talking about? Can you
LaGrange
give me
seems
that?
to have,
Lou?
they have a week in advance where they're knowing, what's going on,
Well,
So what do you mean, like, you're saying
Yeah.
if people want to talk about something on an agenda, they have to submit it a week in advance
Correct,
before it even
right.
go on? Yeah.
Just so people know, the town people know what's going on, then instead of finding out on Friday on, hey, this is what's gonna be on Monday. It just feels like we're not giving the town people a chance to actually, okay, everybody's
I understand your
be open to trying it.
frustration. I agree if you can figure out how to make that work. I would remind everybody that the town, up until a couple years ago, didn't stream anything. For some reason, all the previous boards were afraid of being on TV or being recorded. We do that now. We put the agenda out on the website. We redid the website to increase transparency. We've taken a lot of steps to allow.
I
So the deadline's Thursday for it to go out Friday morning. That leaves 3 full days for people to digest. I'm telling you, watching how everything works, there is no way you could put it a week prior. And I would go around and look at all the other towns. Maybe LaGrange is an outlier, but I've copied with the rules a lot of other towns that usually it's Thursday evening for like a Monday type of thing. So I'd be impressed if there's a lot of towns with a week advance putting out their stuff to the town, the people, which I'm supportive of if we can figure it out, but I just don't know how that would realistically work.
Okay.
I'll work with you though to make
All
it
right.
work.
I want to say I'm excited for working with you guys because we're going to have a good time. But we do not need 30 people on a committee, please. I do think that this is like Camp New Teaming. I think that there's lots of change happening, good change. But I think it's kind of like, all right, we're here, let's do it. Let's make the decision. Let's move forward. We should be talking already. I have an event booked for that day already that I now have to reschedule everything, which is fine. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But I booked a singer, I booked rides, I booked a whole bunch of stuff that now I'm going to have to work with the committee to reschedule that day. Excuse me. So I just think, we keep talking about this stuff. Let's just do it. Let's jump in. Let's get it done. It's only a few months away at this point. And we have camp and like 9 other million things happening in between. So, and now with having a committee and me having to oversee that committee, that's adding more work. And it's not a bad thing. It's just we have a small rec department and a lot of things coming up. So I think that let's just get it done. That's it.
Can we mix the singer in somehow?
We
with
can.
Pleasant
No,
Valley Day?
we've talked briefly, but we needed to wait for this to be situated in order. Yeah, but like contracts need to be signed. We need to start switching things around that were already set up for that day. I don't want to lose potential entertainment, and the entertainment I booked, I'm going to have to switch, and they're not going to be super happy about that as well. So we have to. The timing is different between the two events is the problem. So we have to kind of work that out. So I just think let's just get it done. That's it.
Okay, not seeing anyone else, I'd like to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like to, motion to go into an executive session for 105.1 personnel and attorney-client session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for coming. I make a motion to come out of executive session at 10:32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I make a motion to adjourn the meeting
Second.
at 10:33.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.